The galaxy had seen monsters before, things that could rip through armor, melt stone, and feast on fear itself. But this time, the monsters came to our world and met someone who didn't run. Her name wasn't in any military database. She wasn't a soldier, or a scientist, or an assassin. She was a wildlife ranger, human, patient, quiet, and terrifyingly clever. When the galaxy's elite hunters arrived to prove dominance, Earth didn't send an army. She sent her. And by the time it was over, they were the ones being hunted. If stories like this make you whisper, humans are built different, you're in the right place. Hit like, subscribe, and share this story, because what happens next will make you proud to be human. The council chamber aboard the Telnith's Pride didn't just hum. It vibrated like the air itself knew fear. Every wall was carved obsidian, reflecting the sharp edges of the galaxy's most feared hunters. Their armor shimmered like oiled scales, their claws tapping in unison. These were apex beings, killers who once walked unchallenged across 47 worlds. And yet, tonight, they were afraid. At the center of the chamber stood Supreme Hunter Vorel, a creature whose name alone silenced planets. His voice rolled like thunder through the metal hall. 17 of our finest, he growled, slamming 4 appendages onto the table. Gone, on that dirt ball they call Earth. The sound echoed like war drums. The others twitched in disbelief. Across the table, Intelligence Officer Zix Mora, small, nervous, her bioluminescent skin flickering yellow, lowered her eye stalks. Yes, Supreme Hunter, she said softly. The human. Designation 739. She has turned the tables completely. A low murmur filled the room. Disbelief, mockery, fear. Impossible, hissed one hunter. A single human? Against 17? Another scoffed. Show us the evidence. Zix's trembling claws danced over her console. Holograms flickered to life. Shaky helmet feeds, infrared scans, body cams that ended in static. And there she was. A small, unarmored figure in green ranger gear, standing in mist and pine. Meera Torres, this? Supreme Hunter Vorel barked, his ridges flaring crimson. This is what broke our hunters. Zix swallowed. She is efficient, adaptive. She learns from every kill. The chamber fell silent. The first recording played. A hunter stalked through a forest thicker than fog. He moved with precision, guided by heat scans and pheromone sensors. But the trail, too clean, too perfect. The heat signature was a decoy. From above, hidden in a tree blind, a faint creak. An ancient weapon, primitive by galactic standards. A bow. The arrow fired. Tungsten tipped, with a shaped charge hidden in its shaft. It pierced the armor's neck joint, the single weakest point. The hunter collapsed. The monitor flatlined. Silence. Then another feed. A sniper, cloaked, high above the valley. Perfect vantage point. But her prey had vanished underground. Crawling through caves her sensors dismissed as too small, Meera emerged behind her, covered in mud, holding a flamethrower built from scavenged fuel tanks. One spark, and the nest went up in flames. Over the roar of fire, her voice was calm, almost conversational. 16 down. How many more are you sending? The hunters in the chamber leaned closer. The recordings continued. A hunter crushed under a steel deadfall trap. Another blown apart by an explosive disguised as firewood. One dragged screaming into a river by steel cables. One's armor hacked by what looked like a laptop, growled Vorel. Zix nodded weakly. She repurposed your battlefield network protocols, turned your own systems into traps. The council shifted in disbelief. These were predators who had faced acid storms, black hole beasts, nanoplague wars, and lost to a ranger with forest tools and a stubborn streak. She's not surviving, muttered one hunter. She's hunting us. Zix's voice was quiet but firm. Correct. After the 7th kill, she began seeking you out. The words struck harder than any weapon. Predators didn't get hunted. They hunted. Voral's breathing deepened, the color of his skin pulsing like molten metal. Enough? He rose from his seat, towering over them all. The council are fools, he snarled. This is no sport now. It's war. He turned to the tactical officers. Prepare a full assault. 20 hunters. Full combat loadouts. We will overwhelm her. A younger warrior hesitated. Supreme Hunter, she is one human. Should we not study her? Voral spat. We've studied her enough. She dies. He leaned forward, his multiple eyes reflecting the planet hanging below them. Blue, fragile, unsuspecting. Earth, the primitive world that broke the pride of hunters. We end this farce. We remind them who rules the stars. The chamber erupted into motion. Command signals flared, armor systems came online, and dropships prepped for descent.
But even among them, unease lingered, because somewhere deep down, every instinct, every shred of ancient predatory wisdom, whispered the same warning. If you must hunt, don't hunt humans. The drop pods loaded. The hunter's war chant echoed through the ship's hangar, guttural and triumphant. Yet under that defiance hid something else, a flicker of doubt. Commander Thexavel, a veteran of 40 hunts, stood beside his ship's loading ramp, helmet in hand. His clawed hand tightened on his weapon. He'd seen too many hunts go wrong when arrogance got in the way. We are not the 17, he barked, rallying his team. We are overwhelming force. He said it loudly, confidently, but in his gut, he felt the quiet twist of unease. Because the thing about humans, they didn't stop when afraid. They adapted, they learned, and they always fought back. As the ships descended into the thick clouds of Earth's atmosphere, the Supreme Hunter watched from orbit. He didn't see a threat, just a planet of prey. But far below, in a small ranger station surrounded by whispering trees, a woman sipped coffee and glanced at the motion sensors on her laptop. She smiled. They're coming, she murmured. Good. The forest wind carried her words away like a promise or a warning. The dropships of the Telnata's pride sliced through the night sky like blades of black fire. Inside, 20 of the galaxy's finest hunters braced for atmospheric entry. Their armor hissed with cooling plasma, weapons hummed in their claws. Each one had survived countless wars, but none had ever hunted something that hunted back. Commander Thexavel's voice crackled through the comms. We are not the 17, he repeated. We are the redemption of our kind. For squads, cardinal spread, no contact until target is visual. The word sounded confident, rehearsed. But even through the static, you could hear it, that edge of uncertainty. When the dropships hit atmosphere, flames licked the hulls. The forest below glowed with life. Pines and fog, rivers winding like veins. Earth, a primitive world by galactic measure, yet somehow unnerving, because beneath those trees, something waited. Thexavel's squad touched down first, armor sinking into damp soil. The world was alive with sound. Insects, distant owls, rain on leaves. It was chaos compared to the sterile silence of their home worlds. Thermals up, he ordered. Dozens of overlays blinked to life. Heat trails, motion spikes, humidity readouts. A signature flickered on the display. Humanoid. Stationary. Got her, hissed one hunter. Half a click north. They moved like shadows, weapons raised. Their armor adapted to terrain, bending light and sound. They were invisible death. But as they advanced, the readings changed, duplicating, scattering, multiplying. 5 signatures. Then 10. Then 20. She's cloned herself? One muttered. No. Thexavel squinted. She's mirroring us. Our own heat signals reflected. A hiss of static. A faint click. Thexavel looked down, tripwire. The explosion tore through the clearing. The blast wasn't plasma. It was old-school, human-made, shrapnel-based. The kind designed not to kill cleanly, but to maim. Half his squad went down screaming. Systems overloaded, armor sparking. Through the smoke, a faint figure moved. Fast, low, efficient. A Bao sang once. Then again, Thexavel fired back, plasma bolts tearing through trees. But she was already gone. "Eyes up," someone shouted. "She's—" The voice cut out, replaced by the sound of a strangled gurgle. When the dust cleared, there were 8 of them left. Thexavel's pulse thundered in his ears. Team Alpha, report. Nothing. Team Bravo. Static. He looked up at the canopy. Through the mist, faint glimmers of fire. Then came her voice, calm, almost bored, broadcast over their own comms. "You shouldn't have split up." Thexavel froze. "How?" "Your encryption's predictable," she said. "I read your manuals." And just like that, her signal vanished. Up in orbit, Supreme Hunter Voral watched the chaos unfold on the holo displays. The feeds were patchy, scrambled by interference. "Status," he snapped. Zix Mora's tone was brittle. "We're losing telemetry. Something on the surface is jamming our sensors." "Impossible. Their technology is primitive." "Then maybe," she said softly, "that's the problem." Voral's eyes narrowed. "Explain." "She's using analog interference, magnetic distortion, radio scatter. The kind of signals our systems filter out automatically. She's hiding in the noise." Voral's claws tapped the table. Adaptive, predictable. But he didn't sound convinced, because for the first time in 300 cycles, the hunters had no idea where their prey was. Back on Earth, the forest whispered. Meera Torres crouched beneath an old oak, her breast steady, her bow resting across her knees. The rain had stopped, leaving the air heavy and electric. She checked her laptop. Its cracked screen flickered with alien symbols. Lines of intercepted code, weapon signatures, armor telemetry. She'd spent 3 sleepless nights learning their language, mapping their routines, predicting their arrogance. "You're hunters," she murmured to herself. "But you don't listen to forest, do you?" Her trap stretched across miles. Deadfalls, tripwires, hack drones repurposed as mines. Every inch of this terrain was her ally. She watched one of their patrols through a thermal scope. They moved too confidently, too loud. She smiled. They still thought they were the apex predators. When the last one stepped over the marker, she pressed a single key. The forest erupted. Explosions tore through the trees, sending shock waves rippling through the valley. Trees collapsed in chains, smoke rising in black pillars. One by one, their armor feeds winked out. Meera exhaled. "Calm. Controlled. 17. 19. 20, she whispered. "Let's see if you learn faster than the last ones." Thexavel's armor flickered as his HUD rebooted. His breathing was ragged, his team scattered and bleeding. "Bravo, status." "Down. Half squad gone." "Retreat to the river." "We regroup there." They stumbled through mud, dragging wounded comrades. The forest itself seemed to move around them. Every sound a possible death trap. Something whistled past his head, not a plasma bolt, but a flare. It exploded above them, showering the canopy with light. And then, in that glow, he saw her, standing on a ridge, bow drawn, hair slick with rain, eyes bright and cold. She didn't shout. She didn't threaten. She just smiled. And every instinct, ancient primal, screamed run. "Supreme Hunter," Zix's voice broke the silence aboard the flagship. "We're detecting mass casualties. 11 hunters down, 5 unresponsive." Voral's claws scraped the table. "Unacceptable. She's one human." But even he could feel it now. The invisible shift in power. Predators were supposed to control fear, but fear had a new master. As the fires burned in the forest below, Meera stood among the ruins of the first dropship. Sparks danced across her face. Her hands shook from adrenaline, not fear. She looked up through the smoke, at the faint glimmer of the Telnata's pride far above the clouds. "You think you're hunting me," she said softly, "but you're already in my trap." Somewhere, the forest answered, a low, rolling thunder that sounded a lot like laughter. Dawn bled slowly over the forest, orange light filtering through smoke and fog. The aftermath of the hunters' first night on Earth looked less like a battlefield and more like a graveyard arrogance. Half their forces were gone. The survivors were shaken. From orbit, the Telneth's pride drifted in uneasy silence. Inside the command chamber, the tension was thick enough to choke on. Supreme Hunter Vorel leaned over the tactical display. Reform the ground teams. She cannot hold against 20 of us for long. Zix Mora didn't look up from her console. There aren't 20 anymore, Supreme Hunter. Her voice was quiet, measured, but the words hit like a bullet. Vorel's eyes burned. Explain. She's using terrain, pattern disruption, chemical traps. They lose contact, and then their signals just stop. Every trace of her actions shows escalation. She's learning, adapting, faster than our algorithms can predict. Vorel slammed a claw down, cracking the table. A primitive animal cannot outthink us. Zix finally looked up, her eye stalks dim. Maybe that's the problem, sir. You're trying to think like hunters. She's thinking like a human. On the planet below, Meera Torres crouched beside a downed alien rifle, examining it under the soft morning light. It was beautiful, smooth alloy, energy cells glowing faintly blue. She smiled faintly. You boys sure brought nice toys. Her laptop hummed, the cracked screen scrolling alien code. She'd managed to brute force their network overnight, one frequency at a time. The hunter's encryption wasn't built for persistence. It was built for dominance. It assumed no one could survive long enough to figure it out. But Meera was nothing if not stubborn. She rerouted the rifle's targeting software into her laptop, connecting it to a motion sensor rig she'd scavenged from the wreck of their dropship. The system chirped. Ready. Good morning, she whispered to the forest. Let's get to work. By mid-morning, the hunters regrouped at a clearing scarred by fire and debris. Commander Thexable's armor was dented, his voice raw. Alpha team down. Charlie silent. Delta reporting sporadic movement. He turned his head toward the trees. She's still here, watching us. One of his soldiers hissed. She can't hide forever. We'll burn her out. No, Thexable said quietly. That's what she wants. He knelt and picked up a shard of human-made shrapnel. It was shaped from melted armor. Their armor, repurposed. She's using our wreckage, learning from it. The soldier scoffed. She's just a human. Thexable met his gaze. So we're the ones who built orbital cannons from lightning storms. Don't underestimate survival. Hours passed. Then, deep in the forest, a faint hum stirred, like the buzz of distant machinery. One of the hunters tilted his head. You hear that? The sound grew louder, rhythmic, mechanical. Then the ground exploded. Thexable was thrown off his feet as a hidden minefield detonated. Not alien mines, human ones, improvised with chemical fertilizer and alien plasma cores. Half the squad went down. Armor melted. Systems failed. And over the static, Meera's voice came through their comms again, smooth, infuriatingly calm. You came to hunt me, so I made a game. Every trap's a lesson. You're learning, right? Thexable clenched his jaw. Where are you? Closer than you think. From above, Vorel's patience snapped. Deploy orbital reconnaissance. Target her coordinates. Zix hesitated. Sir, if we fire, we risk. Do it. Beams of light pierced the clouds, precise, searing lances that vaporized entire acres of forest. The temperature surged, birds scattered, rivers hissed into steam. But when the smoke cleared, the sensors still couldn't find her. Vorel stared at the feed in disbelief. Impossible. Zix's voice was almost trembling. She anticipated the strike. She's moving through geothermal tunnels. The heat signatures blend with the blast residue. Then she's underground, Vorel growled. No, Supreme Hunter. Zix's gaze flicked to her screen. She's behind your orbital uplink. Back on Earth, Meera wiped soot from her face and stared at her laptop. The orbital telemetry was fully mapped now. She'd tracked their targeting systems, pinpointed the pride's reactor nodes. A grin tugged at her lips. You've been looking down at us for centuries, she muttered. Time to look up. She uploaded her code, a virus built from scavenged alien subsystems, patched together with fragments of human encryption protocols. Brute force through sheer stubbornness. The first node blinked red, then the second, then all of them. Up in orbit, alarm screamed across the Telnata's Pride. Zix's claws danced over her console. She's in the system. She's in our ship. How? Voral roared. She infected the last supply drone, the one that landed for rations. She used it as a Trojan vector. Voral's mandibles twitched with rage. Cut her out. I can't, Zix whispered. She's deeper than the firewalls. She's talking to us through the reactor grid. And then, through the ship speakers, came a familiar human voice. Hi there. The hunters froze. You should really change your passwords. On Earth, Meera sat in her small ranger cabin, surrounded by the quiet hum of electronics. The forest outside was scarred and beautiful, alive in its defiance. She leaned back in her chair, sipping coffee, eyes fixed on the screen, as the alien system began to buckle under her assault. For a moment, she almost felt sorry for them. Almost. You call yourselves apex predators, she said softly, but you don't understand what that really means. We didn't get to the top by being the strongest. Her gaze drifted toward the window, toward the sky burning faintly with the glow of the orbiting warship. We got here because we don't stop. The laptop beeped, uplink complete, and high above the Earth, the Telnata's Pride shuddered, power flickering, systems collapsing one by one. Inside, Zix whispered in awe. She's not trying to kill us, she's controlling us. Voral's voice was low, furious, almost afraid. She's turned the hunt into a war. Down below, Meera strapped on her pack, her bow slung across her shoulder. The wind had picked up again, cool and sharp. She looked up at the faint shape of the ship in the clouds. You wanted to meet Earth's apex predator, she said quietly. Congratulations. You found her. She turned, disappearing into the forest shadows. And as the thunder rolled in behind her, it sounded, to the galaxy's once great hunters, a lot like laughter. The stars above her shimmered faintly, but one of them wasn't a star. It was dying. The Telnata's Pride, flagship of the galaxy's most elite hunters, spun slowly in orbit, lights flickering, alarms screaming through its decks. Inside, chaos reigned. Systems failed. Oxygen levels dropped. Reactor coolant boiled. And through the static of every comm line, one calm human voice whispered, Checkmate. Supreme Hunter Voral staggered into the command bridge. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Status, he roared. Zix Mora didn't look up from her console. Her yellow skin flickered between panic and disbelief. She's locked us out of navigation. We can't vent the reactors. We can't reroute power. We're... Finish that sentence, Voral growled. Zix turned her eye stalks toward him, trembling. We're trapped, Supreme Hunter, on our own ship. Voral's claws scraped against the obsidian table. The symbol of command, once untouchable, was cracked beneath his weight. How did this happen? Zix swallowed. She used our arrogance, sir. You gave her time. You told her what we were. She listened. Down below, in the forest now quiet after days of fire, Meera Torres sat outside her cabin, the morning light glinting off a battered laptop. Her eyes were red from exhaustion, but steady. On the screen, she watched the Pride systems collapse line by line. Propulsion offline, weapons neutralized, communications jammed. Her traps had been brutal, her tactics ingenious. But this was the strike that would end it. You called it a hunt, she murmured. But to me it was personal. A window popped open on the screen. Incoming transmission from orbit. She clicked accept. Voral's face appeared, his breathing ragged, his ridges dim from fury and disbelief. You human, he spat. You slaughtered 20 of my kind. Do you think this makes you powerful? Meera leaned forward, elbows on her knees, her tone calm. Teacher's calm. No, it makes me prepared. Voral hissed. You've made enemies of the galaxy. You think your planet can withstand our wrath. She smiled, tired, small, but unflinching. You didn't bring the galaxy. You brought hunters. And hunters fall for the same mistake every time. He glared. And what mistake is that? You think the prey doesn't fight back. In orbit, alarms blared again. The reactor core began to overheat. Coolant systems, once thought infallible, now carried Meera's malware, lines of alien code rewritten by human persistence and chaos. Zixmora looked up from her station, voice trembling. Supreme Hunter, she's forcing us into an emergency orbit decay. If we stay, we burn. If we jump, the core detonates. Voral turned toward the comm screen, his voice dark and guttural. What do you want, human? Meera took a sip of her coffee. Steam curled in the cold dawn air. A conversation. She stood, camera feed shaking as she paced. You came here for sport. You called a protocol. Land on new worlds. Challenge the apex predator. Prove your dominance. You've done it for centuries. Voral bared his fangs. It is our right as a superior species. She laughed, not mockingly, but with genuine pity. And that's exactly why you lost. The words hit him like a blade. You measure strength in muscle, in claws, in kill counts. But humans, we measure it in stubbornness, in learning, in refusing to die when we're supposed to. She leaned toward the screen, her eyes fierce and bright. You didn't find Earth's apex predator, Voral. You made her. For a moment, silence. Then Voral's anger faltered, replaced by something else. Fear. He looked at the feed, at a lone woman, mud-streaked, scarred, standing against the might of an empire, and understood. His kind had fought monsters, machines, gods, but never something that thought like this. He lowered his gaze. Name your terms. Meera didn't gloat. She didn't smile. Her voice was calm and final. You leave Earth. Forever. You'll release every prisoner. Destroy every file about this world and mark our planet level 10 hazard. You'll tell your people what happened here, and you'll make sure they remember it. Voral hesitated. And if we don't? She leaned back, folded her arms. Then I let your reactor finish melting down. And when the galaxy's elite ask what happened to their greatest hunters, they'll learn that Earth took them apart with a laptop and some coffee. Zixmora looked at her commander, voice almost reverent. Sir, she's serious. Voral's mandibles twitched. He closed his eyes, the weight of humiliation pressing down. Draft the agreement, he said quietly. Designate Earth, hazard zone level 10. Minutes later, Meera watched from her porch as a faint light streaked across the sky. The Telnata's pride leaving orbit, limping, defeated. She exhaled, finally letting the tension drain from her shoulders. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from everything that had led to this moment. The forest was quiet again. Birds returned. Wind whispered through leaves. Life, stubborn, human life, went on. She opened her laptop one last time, scrolling through the alien data she copied. Ship schematics, energy cores, planetary archives. Knowledge worth entire civilizations. But she didn't upload it. She closed the lid gently and set it aside. Some power was meant to spread. That night, under a sky full of indifferent stars, Meera sat by the fire, the mug warm in her hands. From far beyond the horizon, a faint shimmer blinked, the dying light of a retreating empire. She raised her cup slightly, voice low. Come back any time, she whispered. I'll be ready. And somewhere across the galaxy, the word human took on a new meaning. Not prey, not primitive, but apex, the kind you never hunt twice.